Okay, well, the 2012 Chesapeake Bay Report Card grade was a C, which is actually up from a D plus in the 2011 Chesapeake Bay Report Card for the overall Bay score. And the reason for that positive grade are several-fold, one of which is that we had some early spring rains, but then a relatively dry late spring and summer. We had Hurricane Sandy come through, but Hurricane Sandy essentially missed Chesapeake Bay and there weren't any adverse environmental impacts. What we learned from the analysis of 2012 was Tropical Storm Lee that occurred in late 2011 didn't have a legacy in terms of water quality for the bay. So that actually was a good insight into the bay dynamics. And this year's report card was the most significant change in developing indicators and analyzing report cards that we've made since we started the reporting in 2006. So there are three major things that we changed for this report card. First of all, we dropped the phytoplankton index of biotic integrity because of lack of funding for the phytoplankton analysis, and we picked up two new indicators, total nitrogen and total phosphorus. Now these water column nutrient concentrations that we used as indicators are a way to capture what's happening in the bay in response to our various nutrient reduction strategies on the watershed. In addition, we picked up three fisheries indicators. So we measured the blue crabs, we measured the adult female blue crabs, and it turned out in 2012 we fell short of the 215 million adult female blue crab target, and both Maryland and Virginia are taking measures to reduce the harvest to be able to get back up towards that target level. We also used striped bass or rockfish, and those numbers are a 3-year average, reflecting the life cycle of these fish, and those numbers are tracked up for the second year in a row. And then finally, the most abundant fish in the bay anchovy, the forage fish for the larger fish, and the numbers have been pretty steady and high since for the last 3 years. So we also, the other major change in our reporting this year is that we track the trajectories, the positive no change or negative trajectories, and we have 27 years of data to do that over, and we were able to find that there were several areas that had positive trajectories. In Virginia, the York, the James, and the Elizabeth all are tracking in a positive way. In Maryland, the Upper Bay and Upper Western Shore are tracking in a positive direction. There's one note of caution with the Maryland numbers, however, and that is the last few years there's been an inflection downward. So while it's still overall been tracking in a positive way, we have a very cause for concern in these Maryland trips. And then the one truly negative trajectory, unfortunately, is the mid-bay, and that's the largest segment in the bay. It stretches from about the Bay Bridge down to the Virginia border, and that trajectory is a negative trajectory. The other, third way we've reanalyzed and adjusted these report card analysis is that we've developed a technique to look at flow adjustment, to factor out the variability of very high to very low flows from year to year. And so we have this flow adjustment which we were able to go through, and it provided us both some important insights into the way the bay works, but also gives us some cause for some cautious optimism. What we've learned is that two of the indicators that have been tracking in a negative way for some time, and we've raised a lot of concern and done some research to investigate the cause of that, are the water clarity, the distance that we can see a white disk as it's lowered into the water, and the chlorophyll levels. And chlorophyll is the measure of the amount of phytoplankton in the water. And those have been degrading for the last couple of decades. But by looking at the flow adjusted analysis, we can see that in fact in the last few years those have flattened out and maybe even starting to improve a little bit. So that's very good news. And then when we look at the bay health as a whole, the Bay Health Index, we can see since 2006 a slightly positive trend. So we may be on the right trajectory after all. And it's certainly helped by the fact that our total nitrogen, total phosphorus, our nutrients in the water are improving and consistently over the time period that we've analyzed, this last 27 years. We do a report card on Chesapeake Bay because we want to have several features. We want to have data-driven reporting. We want to have regionally specific report cards so we can compare and track different regions. And we want to delve into using a variety of different indicators. We want to be able to delve into some of the causes for what's going on. We're trying to track how well we're doing as the Bay is the large integrator of all the things we're doing on the watershed, our agricultural programs like cover crops, our sewage upgrades, our air quality improvements that we're seeing. We're trying to track that and see how that's manifested in the Bay itself. So what we often are asked as scientists that study the Bay and work on the Bay is, how's the Bay doing? Is it getting better? Is it getting worse? And where's it better or worse? Well, we use this quantitative, rigorous accounting that we go through to develop a report card. We get thousands and thousands of data points and integrate them into these simple scores, these simple metrics. But these simple metrics are supported by a rich data resource underneath. And we do that so that we can understand what's happening in the Bay, whether we're making progress or not. We use it as a tool to help us focus on some of the issues, some of the changes in water quality that we're seeing. Only start analyzing through this reporting process gives us insights into how the Bay is working.